Now, Liam, we're chasing and following our dreams, but would you like to tell the audience why we were so depressed last week?
Oh, Kirby, start that one.
Welcome back.
Welcome back to the podcast.
That's a hook for all you people.
It actually feels kind of weird because you and I have not done this in 5 weeks, 6 weeks.
Maybe. Well, we've done solo ones, but we've forced them, and then the energy wasn't amazing. But then also, because we've had so many amazing guests, we've wanted to get the guests out before these ones. So we've just gone, we'll launch it next week. And then it's been 2 or 3 weeks. We've got our solo episode still sitting there and we just do nothing with it. So
Yeah, we did one after we did 2 interviews that day. And I remember halfway through it, I was half asleep. And I thought, this isn't that exciting. Well, I reckon there was actually a lot of value in that, but I was
Heaps.
way too tired.
But so today, as I put it so bluntly at the start, we want to talk about burnout today. Burnout and just when you go so hard on something, like this whole stigma of the grind. Everyone needs to be on the grind and you need to be grinding, but the grind can be exhausting.
And I don't want anyone to think that me and Kirby are like complaining about how hard this is. And like, you know, like I've done trades and so has Kirby, and we've done regular jobs for a long time. We aren't saying that this is harder than that.
No.
It's probably more the like mental exhaustion of all of it. With like, we've got like a looming thing over the back of us, you know, there's no guarantee that any of the stuff that we're saying is going to happen or what we think is going to happen, but we know it will.
We've got the wager from King Bob floating there, like
Well, yeah, King Bob. Nobody would know about King Bob unless you follow me on TikTok. I had a guy called King Bob that commented something really negative. It was our first negative comment.
really mean.
I'm actually taken back by King Bob.
But anyway.
Yeah, he tried to say, you know, anyway, we're not going to give King Bob energy. Just jump on my TikTok, you'll see the video. But it's just been like I think you wrote yesterday, we've done like 21 days straight or something of just, sorry, someone just liked 100 of our posts in a row. My phone was blowing up. I thought we'd just gone viral. But yeah, 21 days straight of just literally morning till night, interview after interview. Every week we've done like 4 interviews and we're not complaining again. It's just, you've got to completely lock in. And it's from like, and we'll talk about Jim and we'll talk about the Danny episode because they were our biggest interviews so far. But it's like the mental burn of it.
Yes.
And also having to be on the entire time and then also preparing for it. It can be very like straining on you, I feel.
And we're not comparing ourselves to like footy players and like
concreters and bricklayers.
No. Like, because the way that I see it is, and as I said, we're not comparing ourselves to footy players and people doing concerts and all that kind of stuff. But you spend so long. We'll book a massive interview. So say, for example, Jim, right? We'd built up in our heads to Jim. We had the energy. We had the anxieties. We had the excitement and we had all of this fight or flight energy flying around and our adrenal glands were pumping, and then when you do the interview you're locked in, you're like, this is amazing, and then when it finishes you just crash because you've spent the last hour completely locked in and focused on this one person and listening to every single word that they're saying, and when you're done you just kind of go,
Yep. And that's what happened to us with Jim, because we kind of talked about this with Gay, but I don't really think we got too into depth with it. But we went to Melbourne and we flew down on the Saturday and we had the interview with Jim on the Sunday. And unfortunately, it didn't marry up and we had to push it to the Monday.
scheduling issue.
Yeah, but we planned on flying out Sunday night at like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So it got to Jim and we didn't know until like 5:30 that it definitely wasn't going to happen. So from that morning,
Because it was still an if or maybe for like 3 hours. So we're hanging around like going, it could still happen.
Yeah, so we didn't actually know. So from that morning, we've flown out. We've been excited from the night before. We've flown out.
Driving to, because it was an hour drive from where we were to where he was.
Yeah.
So we were like in the car going,
sorry.
Oh my God.
No, sorry, I forgot. It's blurged into one. Yeah, we flew out on the Saturday and then we had the horrible sleep in this horrible accommodation.
Yeah.
We slept for a total of like 4 hours in total.
Because we needed the window open for fresh air, but because it was above a pub, when you had a door, and there was live music till midnight. So whenever the door would open, you'd hear the live music flow up. So neither of us could sleep properly.
They're also single beds with just springs under the mattress, so it wasn't great. So, yeah, Sunday, we expel all of this energy. We plan it. We get there at about 2:50, and I had a gut feeling, I had a gut feeling it wasn't going to happen. I don't know why, but I said to Kirby, oh, this isn't going to happen. So, but you can imagine, like, for us, it being our first big interview and, you know, the people watching it and...
You imagine like a job interview, right?
Yeah.
You're going for like the biggest job interview of your career. Like this could possibly launch you in a new direction. But it's in Brisbane and you're on the Gold Coast and you go, okay, and you're getting ready for like 2-3 weeks. You get in the car, you drive all the way there, you get there, and then it's not happening that day. The turning and driving home, you feel deflated, flat. Then the next day, you've got to re-excite yourself again. Like it's just a overuse of energy.
And I felt really. We kind of said in the Gay episode, but it'll probably make a bit more sense with a bit of context. But I said in the last episode with Gay, Jim took a phone call from like one of the radio networks. So we had like a 15-minute stoppage.
Yeah.
And it was like at that point, all of the adrenaline for me ran out, all the nerves.
Yeah.
And I was on this massive come down. And that was something that you and I, like, because me and Kirby knew about it a month prior. So when it finally came into fruition, I was like heart pumping by the time we finally met him.
Yeah.
And because we didn't meet him the first day and we were prepared to, the second time we got even more nervous to meet him because of everything that had happened. So, so we were just like, ooh. So yeah, I felt it midway through that interview. I felt like my eyes just got so heavy and I just wanted to like wrap it up and get out of there. And I was thrown off for like 3 days after that. Do you remember when we got to the train station and you looked at me and were like, be excited?
Yeah, one, because at that point we wrapped it up at just over an hour, when normally that's when our interviews end. So in your mind, we were done.
We were 10 minutes off in my mind. I was like, we're wrapping this up.
Yeah, and it was like someone had pulled the plug out from you and you've just gone and like all the, like you've like literally let the pin on the balloon go and you've just gone...
I was fizzled.
Like,
you can hear in that episode, I don't even speak for the last half of it.
Yeah. But I mean, like, and it's not to say there was anything wrong. Like, amazing
it was
interview.
insane. It was a great day.
We were sitting there and we're like, this is phenomenal. We're sitting with this guy. But it's when you've built up to this moment for so long, when it finally ends, it's just the release of energy is like, oh.
It's also something that I've been... Because with Gay, she walked us through it. And I actually utilised everything that she taught me for the following one. So we had Daniel Hayes on, and you would have listened to this by now because this is coming out after. And he is a guy that I've watched since day one in real estate, and he ended up being on Big Brother, Celebrity Big Brother, and he's got a massive YouTube channel. And I was just so excited to meet him, but also nervous. But what Gay taught us is that she kind of asked me and she said, what's your preparation in order to meeting these people? Like, are you telling yourself you're nervous, you're anxious, you know, all of these things? And I said, well, yeah, like when we're about to meet them, I say to Kirby, I'm so nervous, I'm so nervous, I'm so...
And then you'll turn to me and say, are you nervous? And I go, no, I'm not. And then you go, why aren't you? Like, how aren't you nervous? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. Shut up.
So, yeah, what I did then was I was like, well, I'm going to actually utilize what she taught me. So instead of like saying I'm nervous, I actually started saying I'm really excited. And I started talking to myself different. And I actually over-prepared for this interview. Like, I had probably 10 more questions that we never even got to ask him. So it's like me and Kirby, especially with the interviews, we never really want to sit around just chatting about things that are boring and that we don't find value in. Like, we don't want the interviewee to be bored. We don't want to be bored. We don't want the people listening to be bored.
We want a short, sharp, high intensity, valuable conversation.
Yeah. And we like, so when you're in the interview, you really want to keep it on topic and interesting. We really just don't want it to be a lull. So you're always turned on, like switched on the entire interview, and you just want to keep it flowing with really good questions.
And I don't know, like, it's probably a different experience because it's like, one, I didn't even think about this when we first started podcasting, the energy drain from an actual interview.
Yeah.
Because when you go to the pub, you know, you go to the pub with a mate and you'll sit there and you'll yarn, but you'll dribble shit for a little bit until the conversation gets real. Like, I'm sure you've had it before when you're sitting with mates and you're just going, how's work? And just basic level stuff. But then after about 20 minutes, you start delving into the deep conversations. Yep. We have to meet a new person, sit in front of them and get deep immediately.
Like straight away. And we haven't, a lot of the people that we have that probably aren't like on the scale of them too, we tend to have like a 10 to 15 minute catch up prior and have a conversation.
Yeah.
But that still isn't really,
enough.
You still don't know that person. You both kind of explain what your mission is and you get what their mission is, but you still don't know anything about these people.
No.
So like you said, you've got to sit down with these people and within an hour have the deepest conversation possible, but it's also going to have value. Like in our 3 core values is relatability, reliable, relatable, relevant, and valuable. So we're trying to meet those 3 keys every single time we're in an episode. So the whole time we're there, we're trying to keep it to those 3 things. So your brain is just constantly going.
It's like your alarm clock going off at 4 a.m., jumping out of the bed and sprinting a kilometre. And like, as soon as you're up, you got to get straight. No little warm-up jog and get into
it. And
also,
the people that are like, successful, like their time's valuable. So the second the microphone's set up and you're ready, they're like, all right, let's go. And you're like, oh, shit, let's do it.
Yeah.
So, it's something that me and Kirby are trying to get used to. And as well, like we felt a lot of burnout because it's one of those things where there's actually this is aside from interviewing, but there's so many certain things to do as well. Like we've got to do social media. Kirby's got to do all the editing for the videos and the audio, create the reels.
Yeah.
We've just built this studio. Like we spent the day doing the carpet tiles.
This is awesome in here.
It's awesome in here. This is actually the first episode coming from it as well. So it's been just like a massive 3 weeks. And as well, like we obviously quit our jobs. So it's like mentally that's hanging and looming over the back of your mind as well.
Yeah. And it's as I said to Liam, like you never focus on money because like money will come and greed is just one of the 7 deadly sins. So you don't focus on money, but you need something to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And like even when you're chasing something of what you love and chasing your passion, the electricity company isn't going to go, oh, you're following your dream? Oh, don't worry about paying your bills this month. So, like, there is that looming thought of, like, that, and it can drag you down. And I think it was dragging us down more than what it should have.
It's also, like, uncertainty. Like,
so, what we're really saying is that even when you're following your passion and your dreams and you're working so hard, it's like what Daniel said the other day. He said something, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he was saying like, when you're dedicated and you're obsessed, he's like, you have it's like, you don't require exterior motivation. It's all internal motivation. But even then, when we're finding we are working hard to get this going, burnout is still a thing.
Yeah, I didn't actually know that either.
No.
I thought if you're doing something you loved, it didn't happen.
Yeah, I thought we could just go for like a month straight and be like, oh, I'm fine. But no, it's like even in something you enjoy, burnout, like, because yesterday and, well, not the day before, but Sunday, we tried to have a complete day off of not touching it at all. Didn't happen, but like nothing booked.
I've been finding like lately too, I feel like my mental health actually took quite a bit of a toll.
Absolutely.
And it's been a little bit, I don't even know if it's like I was saying before, it's probably take everything we've been doing aside, but like I just feel like with so much uncertainty, my brain has just been going consistently and constantly, and it's just about all of the worries that I've never really had before. And I can feel it like weighing on me a lot.
Well, like we, big thing for me is because of how busy we've been in the Melbourne trips, and we've done 2 trips to Brisbane this week, and we had all the editing and we were sporadically doing things as they were coming in. For the first time in a very long time, I went to gym like 3 times last week, like only 2 to 3 times, where normally I'm there like 5-6 days a week. And it was like, I really noticed my routine was out because I was off early most days. I was not eating my normal lunches and, you know, like having your breakfast, lunch and dinner and having meals. I was eating on the fly, and like it really affected me that last week, not eating. And I'm not saying that I'm like so structured where I have to have everything as is, but having your routines, like your gyms, your workout, your jogs. I haven't meditated for probably 2 weeks. I haven't had time for myself. I haven't had time for my, what I call it today, self-development. So I haven't been able to sit and learn and study and grow things. It's been one thing to the next podcast.
And me and Kirby aren't by any means sitting here and complaining at all. We just love, we just want to be authentic as possible. I think we said it the other day that you and I overshare way too much.
Oh,
so we just thought,
absolutely.
Because we haven't done a solo in like a month. So this is pretty much everything that's been going on. And we just love to be open and honest with everyone. And this is just exactly how we're feeling. But yeah, it's been interesting. Like it's been... I've really enjoyed it, and it felt like, and we've talked a lot about purpose a lot lately, and it's like the only time in my entire life I've ever felt like I'm following my purpose. And like, you know, when they say that, especially when you're like in high school and that, and they're like, you know, if you do what you love, you don't work a day in your life. And I've been like, what is that? Like, what does that even look like?
What does that mean?
What does that actually like? What can I do where I don't know what day of the week it is, or when I wake up, I'm not dreading it? And this is the only time I've ever felt that in my entire life.
Yeah, I think another thing that me and Liam needed to. Well, not actually. I'm going to rephrase that. Something that everybody needs to do and is mainly gratitude. Have just gratitude for everything that you've done, because me and Liam were feeling so burnt out last week, and we feel like we weren't, not that we weren't getting anywhere, but we didn't have time to actually sit and talk about all that, because as of 4 days ago, it had been a month since we actually had taken this full time. And in a month, what we've accomplished is insane. But because we're so focused on the future, we haven't actually sat back and looked and gone, there's been about 8 things that have happened to us that when we first started this show 6 months ago, we would have been over the moon to know that one of those things happened.
I know, we've got it. And Kirby and I think it was like this the end of last week or maybe midway through, I think I sent you a voice message. And I was like saying everything that we had been doing. Like we'll say it on here. It was like we got Jim, we got Danny,
two huge guests
today. Even right today, we had 2 publicists with clients that they want to get onto our podcast message us, and it actually took about until an hour later for me and Kirby to actually realize what had happened, because we thought it was some spammy email and text or whatever.
Yeah, we're just like, someone wants to come on the show, cool, and then we're like, hold up.
And then we've actually Googled and researched, and it's a publicist that's trying to get their client onto our show that's got like this book that they've just bought out that's like #1 or something. And me and Google, like, and it's like, one thing I really want us to do is start being more grateful, because like, it's almost every single day something massive is happening. Like,
absolutely.
A massive guest wants to come in. The other day, I got a 1.5-minute voice message from someone that wanted to come on our show with a massive following that is in line with everything that we are doing. And I listened to his voice message. I was like, oh, cool. I'll reply to that later. And then I went, bro, what are you what are you doing? Like a month ago, I would have called you and said, Kirby, listen to this voice message that we got. And then like another lady over in America that's developed a book, is we're working on getting her onto the podcast. And that happened by accident today.
Yeah.
And like all of these things keep happening. But I think it's because
we've been invited on other podcasts. Like back again when we started, we're like, oh, wouldn't it be cool to go on a show and talk about our story? And then we've been invited on 2 this week.
In 1 week.
Yeah.
So it's like what we really needed to learn was to like stop and get gratitude for everything.
Sorry to cut you off there, but another one. Someone's sending us merch.
Oh yeah, someone actually messaged us the other day and they're like, we'd love to collab. And we're like, look, we would too. If you got any ideas, let us know. And he goes, well, I want to send you guys merchandise and want you to wear it on the
t-shirt.
Yeah, and we want you to wear it on the podcast.
We're like, oh, all right. But we're like, we literally were like, oh, we'd love it when brands start sending us things.
I know, and like I remember like a month ago or 2 months, even when we started, we'd be like, imagine when somebody sends us merchandise for free and they want us to wear it on Instagram.
Yeah.
And like it happened to us, and we were so like nonchalant about it. And I don't know. I really think that we need to like step back and actually have our gratitudes every single day.
Not just us.
Yeah,
it's
not
a
like
massive
everyone.
thing. Everyone.
Like, you probably become so accustomed to what you're doing, and I don't know if it's like you focus on a goal for so long that when it finally happens, instead of being gratitude, like having gratitude for it and going, yes. Sometimes you go, oh well, about time. Yeah. You don't actually sit there and have gratitude for it and express how like. You don't actually sit with it and think about how good it really feels and think about the win. And I think everyone needs to actually sit down and think about these things and how you should really be feeling about them, rather than just looking at them, sitting with them and feeling them and going, when I was a month ago thinking about this, I would have done anything to be in this position now.
Oh, yeah. And it's like, there's there's 2 points there. One was it's in anything. Like people that'll be like, oh, I want to run a marathon in this time, and they don't get there. It's like if they want to run a marathon in an hour and they do it in an hour 20, they're beating themselves up. And it's like, bro, you've just run a marathon in like under an hour and a half. That's incredible.
Yeah.
Like take a step back and look at all the things that you've done. And actually, we're going to do that. Every single person listening to this, I want you to look back. We are halfway through February. So we are, 6 weeks into the year.
Yep.
Look back at the start of the year and think about the things that you have done. One of my best mates ever, I can't say anything about him but or what he's done, but he's done tests, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Incredibly proud of him for that because what he's done is absolutely phenomenal. And we played it off the other day like it was really cool. And I went back to him and I said, we need to celebrate this. So that is fucking amazing what you have done. Not many people do that. So I encourage everyone to actually think about from the 1st of January, all the things that you've done up until this point and celebrate it. Because well done.
Yeah,
well done.
If anyone's like me, I ride the highs really high.
Yes.
So for context, Kirby and I might have a day where we get three guests wanting to come on and the merchandise thing. And then we look at our episode and it's got double the views we normally get just in one day.
Yeah.
And then the next day, nothing happens, or not nothing happens, maybe one thing happens. And I then go, oh, nothing's happening. And I ride the highs way too much and then the lows way too low. But
peaks and troughs.
And also stop being so hard on yourself and instead of taking it day by day, take it like what Kirby said, week by week and look back and think of these things that you've accomplished because there's way more things that you've accomplished than you realize you actually have.
Yeah.
When we look back on the month that was, I'm like, actually, when you write that down, it'd be 2 pages and it's just, it's exciting.
The other thing I want to touch on there is, as you said, look back at the things that you've done. Celebrate with gratitude. Celebrate the little things that you did. Hey, I went to the gym 4 times this week. Good on me. Hey, I went for 2 walks this week. Good on me. Hey, I ate healthy for 4 days this week. Good on me. You've got to really look at all the things in your life and just be thankful for everything.
I also just remembered that we sat with a charity for 2 hours last week and did a Zoom call, and they actually taught us how to talk about certain things like suicide and preferred languages around them and sort of words to use and things to talk about and not talk about that could be triggering for people listening. And even that in itself was awesome. They took 2 hours, we sat on there with a Zoom, and they just kept showing us slideshows and then sent us information after. Yeah. So even just things like that, that's insane to me that that those people gave us their time and they were prepared to do that for us. Yeah. It's there's so many, and we forget about them as well. But like you just said, just sitting with them and just being grateful.
Yeah. And grateful for everything that you've done.
Stop being so hard on yourself too. Really.
And I think another problem that not a problem, but it's something that you do that I think a lot of people can reflect with as well is that you look way too far forward into the future of where you want to be. So it's again, and I've done it at times, but I'm better at it than you are. Respectfully.
No, I'd agree.
You look way too far into the future and all the good things that have happened don't matter because you're well, I'm not at where I want to be yet. Yeah. And it's but if we look at where we are now compared to when we started the show, we were looking forward to the things that are happening right now. Yeah. Right? So 6 months ago, our goals were now. But in between here and there, our goals have moved again, which is fantastic to have moving goals. But we're not celebrating the things that have happened to us that we wished had happened.
I'm bad for that. And I think Danny said it, or maybe Danny and somebody else on the podcast, but they were if you look in the past, it's usually depression. If you look into the future, it's usually anxiety. But if you're in the present moment, it's nothing. And I was going down a spiral the other day. Present
moment is gratitude.
I was looking 4 months down the track if everything went wrong.
Yeah.
And I was actually sitting there at one point and went, yeah, but you're only here, you're right now. That 4 months away, anything could happen. Yeah. You could literally, I was going to say become a pilot. I don't know why, but maybe not in 4 months.
Into your head.
But you never actually know what's going to happen. And that's something I've really been trying to do is just being sitting within the present moment because in this current moment, everything that we've wanted is happening and nothing bad's happening.
No.
One thing I did want to touch on.
Actually, bad things are happening, right? I'm not going to say that nothing bad is happening. Bad things are definitely happening, but we have the how much luckier could I get mindset. We have the open mindset, and everything that is happening to us, we are seeing as a plus. Really, like if we were to look at it in another light, there is bad things happening.
Oh yeah, we're just not focusing on it.
You think about the Melbourne flights cancelling. Well, that was shit, but like...
And then the flights we lost money on.
But we sat there and we got a great interview, and we now have time to edit this episode.
Well, I suppose that weekend's a great way to reflect on it, because if we actually did it the day we were supposed to, we slept for 4 hours, we were so tired, and it was a Sunday.
Yeah.
Like, Jim being Jim would have wanted to be at home spending it with his family,
Yeah.
And doing it on a Monday when he's back at work and he's switched on, fired up, ready to go.
Yeah.
Like, there was so many things. And me and Kirby the whole time kept saying, and we've noticed everything that happens to us, whether it's good or bad, has happened for a reason. So instead of looking at it negatively, we literally kept saying, I wonder what the reason for this happening was.
Yeah.
Like, it was obviously a good one.
We waited and it come to fruition.
What I wanted to say too is, because we're like, so open and honest on this podcast, I had my first compy yesterday. Yeah, 2 days ago.
Yes.
And I actually haven't had one since December 24th-ish, after my Christmas party.
Yeah.
But I noticed that what I actually noticed stepping away from like my OCD and having some time away from it was that it all depended on the situation and how my life was.
The environment.
And it wasn't necessarily the compulsions and my mental health at the time. It was the environment and the stress that I'd put myself under. And because we had just, like we explained, been under a bit of stress, I actually had my first compulsion, like obsession, like 2 days ago. And it came out of the blue so easily and so randomly that it actually knocked me a little bit.
It rattled you.
Yeah, I won't say what it is on here because it's a bit vulgar, but Kirby knows what it is, and it was a bit random. It was a sexual one. But yeah, that actually rocked me a little bit. But the thing that made us so excited about this podcast as well was, go back a little bit, when we were in Melbourne, 60 Minutes came on and Luke Combs was sitting there, and the last podcast that he had talked about his mental health was on Joe Rogan. And he said that he had been on top of his mental health.
Plugged him again.
But that's like 26 in a row. But Luke was talking about his mental health on Joe Rogan, and he actually said at one point, I have not really had any for like 10 years or something, and I know how to deal with it now. Fast forward, he was on 60 Minutes and he said he had his worst obsession he had had in years, like a day prior to leaving to Australia, and he had to deal with it for 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of his tour.
Yeah.
He said on that it knocked him and it was the worst he had had, and like prior to that he had been on top of it. So the thing that made me really excited about us doing this podcast as well was because I had the same thing happen to me, and I went like 3 months without a compulsion. So when I had a random one, I didn't get stuck on the what ifs and why did this happen. I was like, you know what, it's happened to him. We have the same thing. So if it's happened to him, it's bound to happen to me, and that's, okay, and I can deal with it that way. But like, it made me so excited by us doing this podcast and bringing awareness to, like suicide and depression and anxiety and OCD and all of these things, because it's like people can listen to us and they know that if something happens, it's normal.
Yeah.
And whether it's coming from one of our big guests that, make a lot of money and they've had a lot of adversity and they're at a certain age demographic, or it's somebody that we have that's a lot younger and been through a different life, different sort of circumstances, it can happen to everyone, and it doesn't matter who you are or what you do. It can still come at you no matter what. And that was something that I really liked, was that the amount of content we've put out there, someone is going to resonate with it and we can help them in that way as well.
Well, like two things on that. One is we love to be vulnerable and we love to be open and we love to be honest with everyone. We did that. We weren't feeling great last week mentally, and we made a reel on it. And we weren't skeptical on it, but we were like, oh, should we not? And we went, no, people need to see that even we can be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And if we're sitting here being vulnerable to the world, why can't you be vulnerable to your closest mate or your mum or your dad or your siblings or your partner or something? It's like, come on, if we can do it to the world, then
and again,
be a little bit vulnerable.
That's why we've told you about all of this at the start of the podcast. Like, and we've said, join us along on the journey to number one, becoming the number one podcast. And we're going to tell you about our ups, our downs, and everything that's going on. Like, we're not hiding anything.
No.
Me and Kirby said the other day, we're chronic oversharers on One Talks podcast. We are bad. We overshare.
Bad for it.
Way too much.
Way too much.
But we want everyone to feel like they're a part of this journey and they've been through it with us. And I said it on One Talks podcast the other day, and I don't know if that part will be aired onto our platform, if it'll go onto his, but the reasoning behind becoming number one isn't like an ego thing. Like, yeah, we want to become number one because that would be really cool. But a big reason as to why we want to do it is because Kirby and I have been through the trenches. Like, I've said it multiple times. Like, I spent 5 years dealing with OCD. There was times I didn't eat or sleep for days on end. There was times where I would be locked in my house for 9 days, for days, where I wouldn't feel comfortable even leaving the house. Couldn't get to the gym. I couldn't even walk out the front door. And what I want people to see is us becoming number one and going, if those guys that had been through all of that, quit their jobs, had no real plan aside from becoming number one, can do it, we can then inspire everyone that listens, that has followed the journey, to then do something and pursue something that they've always wanted to do as well. Yep. So it's not like for the people seeing us wanting to become number one. Again, we want to, and it would be cool for that reason, just being, exciting for us and an ego thing or whatever. But
to show our ex-bosses.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway.
But like, we want to also be inspiring to everyone as well. And that's why, again, we want to share all of these things, because from people that have listened from day one, know what we've been through.
Because that's the other thing is you look at a lot of podcast, TV shows, whatnots, the ones that are number ones. It's like, and I'm not ragging in any way, but you look at like Hamish and Andy's and Joe Rogan's and like all of these other podcasts that are around that are performing really well. They're celebrities that were famous before they started the show.
Yeah.
Then when they started the show, they had a huge backing and following. When me and Liam started this show, we had a fan base of 5. My mum, my dad, my fiance, Liam's mum, and Liam's sister.
I think
like, like we had
I thought you were going to say something else.
No,
and I was like, no,
she wasn't. So we had a fan.
I was prepared to say, hey, actually. There's always a dig in every episode, isn't
We
there?
had a fan base of 5. So we started from barely nothing.
Nothing.
And like...
And like... No training, no one's helped.
2 mates, a mic, and a dream.
Yeah, literally. Like we want
We should
people,
rename the show.
2 men, mics, and a dream. But like we really want people to like just watch it from start to finish. Like we have said, we will
Sorry,
die.
I'm still laughing about that.
We will die trying to become number one. Like if for some reason we have to go back to working, we will still do this podcast.
It's not stopping.
It's not. Like we have said,
stopping.
It would be actually kind of awkward if we didn't, because we've said, we've said multiple times that we're going to become number one. Daniel Hayes has 70,000 followers and put up an Instagram post the other day and said the number one mental health book. I don't know if we've said it so many times that people think it's true.
He did though.
He did.
We said to him as a joke, like, oh yeah, put on the number one mental health podcast. He did it, and we picked up like 25 followers in like 2 minutes.
I was like, yeah. And somebody put on their story today that we're the number one mental health. And I'm like, do you know that we're just saying that like
Do you
as
know
like
that we're not? Like,
but if you say it enough, people believe it.
if you say it enough, it'll happen. Oh,
But yeah,
so
it's just
funny.
like it would just be like so awesome, because like we have shared it from day one. Like day one, like some of the reels and stuff are horrible.
Are abysmal.
Like
Yeah.
we started
Go back and have a look.
We started in Kirby's basement pretty much.
Without any screens or walls. I sat in front of a white wall. You sat in front of the rest of the room.
I had a clothes hanger on the behind
Yeah.
me. And now we've got 2 studios. We're working from one at the moment. We've got another one in Currumbin that we're probably just going to take guests to. Like, we've got a $4,000 camera recording it. We've got 2 lights. We've got
2 proper studio lights.
And that $4,000 camera was from a sponsor. Like, we didn't even have to go out and buy that. Like,
No.
it's all these things. Like,
we have sheer curtains from Kmart.
yeah, like we've got an entire 2 studios now. And like, we aren't beating our chest or like, like saying how great we are. But like everyone that's been here from the start or watches from the start will see the progression. And it's just like, hopefully like inspiring to watch, that if you say it and you believe in it so heavily, you will make it fucking happen.
Say it with the accent.
Oh, if you can see it here and you have the courage to speak it, it'll happen. Conor McGregor.
He's right though.
But he's right.
He's right.
And like,
If you can see a goal, and one thing that I like that Daniel Hayes said last week is he goes, people don't dream big enough anymore.
You don't.
He goes, have the fucking crazy dreams, like dream big. Because look, at the end of the day, if you shoot for the, like, if you aim for the stars and you miss, you'll still hit the moon. Like, dream big. Go for it. But dream huge.
There's no harm in it because it's like essentially what you just said. Like, if you miss and you don't get as big as you want to be, but you get somewhat close, like that somewhat close is still going to be massive if you're dreaming as big as possible.
As you've said, and I'm going to hold a piece of wood right now before I do this. Wood. Yeah, no, hold it. If for some reason this doesn't work,
we're touching wood.
We're holding wood. Don't ignore us. I'll put the aircon on loud so they can't hear it either. If for some reason this doesn't work out, me and Liam go and get a job at Woolies or Coles. We keep continuing to do this show, and it will grow. It may hit number 1 in 4 or 5 years. It may hit it in 6 months, but we will die trying, and it will get there. we can let go of the wood now.
We will die. Like, I don't think people realise our dedication.
Oh, I think they might.
I think they might slowly be now.
Might, yeah.
Like Kirby and I think yesterday was our first day from like 21 days. Like, we are giving it every single fibre of our being. There is a guest I said to Kirby yesterday, it would not be the biggest or the smartest financial decision, but if he says yes, we are flying down to Sydney and doing it.
So if you see us booking flights to Sydney, you're in for a good one. But like, look, we're doing this show obviously for like wanting to help people, and as we said, we were skewing off course last week. We were losing motivation, we were losing momentum, we were getting burnt out. Somehow, simultaneously, we had 3 people message us
that was
to
big
remind us why we're doing this.
We actually got a voice message from a guy. He's awesome, and he's like been there from like, no, I wouldn't say day one, but like probably 3 or 4 months ago. And I guess he could see how hard we're working on Instagram and that. And he's like sent us a voice memo and he goes, boys, you're going to make it. Like, we don't know this guy. Never met him. Like, just know him off social media. And he's like, boys, you're going to make it.
This is before we did any posts about how we were feeling down and feeling blue.
This was just out of the blue.
Nowhere.
It was like intuitious feeling, I guess, by him. And it was like, you're going to make it. You guys are killing it. I can see what you're doing. Just continue to keep pushing on. Like, you will get there.
Grinding.
Just keep grinding. And like, you're helping so many people that you're not even aware of. Just keep going. And then, lo and behold, a couple of days later,
was there a mother?
We're reaching a lot of mums that are looking like trying to help their children as well at the moment.
Which I think is fantastic.
Oh, it's awesome. I don't know.
Rather than the kids coming across it, the parents are going, listen to these guys. They're relevant to you.
And like, it's kind of crazy.
Like teenagers.
And it's awesome, and I love it because I don't know how like that keeps happening, because I don't know like if we're like in a page or something that's for like support groups or something for OCD, which would be awesome. I don't know. Be cool to know. But like, I actually got a message the other night, and she said, I woke up with a obsession, and she was like, I was scared it was going to rock me. She goes, I listened to your podcast and it got rid of it straight away. And I'm not saying that like listening to that's going to get rid of your OCD, but
we're not saying we're walking Jesus or anything,
but like again, us having that content out there and me expressing and being vulnerable, kind of like she listened to it and went, okay, I'm not the only one.
Yeah,
you know, it's like and it's just, it's amazing.
Golden ticket.
It's a golden ticket.
But there was that one. Then there was the mum as well.
Yeah, there was that mum. She messaged me. We were messaging back and forth yesterday.
Because her son was having bad OCD or something, and then you were helping her with how to navigate the sun and all that. And it's like, and it's so funny that all of this come on the Sunday. So me and Liam work for 21 days straight. On the one day that we went, we need a day off and have a breather, all of these messages come through in one hit, and we went, that's why we're doing this.
I wouldn't be doing this if I was doing. No, I'd be doing this if I was doing this. And that's hence the name of the Doing This podcast studio, by the way. Sorry, I just got taken off topic then, but Kirby did the
gesture,
like
a
gesture
neon sign behind me.
But yeah, doing this because Luke Combs has a song, and the interviewer said to him one day, he said, "What would you be doing if you weren't doing this?"
Someone asked me once in an interview what was growing up like, what'd you go to school, and what would you do if you weren't doing this?
And he answered, I'd be doing this if I wasn't doing this. And essentially he's saying that that's what he was put on this earth to do, and whether he was selling out 80,000 seat stadiums in Australia or you're selling out a bar with 10 people, he'd be doing it either way. And like that's
still doing music.
And we like resonate with that. And that's where the name for the studio actually came from, doing this studio. So it's going to be hopefully a pink neon sign underneath, and it'll say doing this, and then underneath it'll be studios.
Living this life just like I was born to do.
Literally. I was going somewhere with what we were saying before, and then I got thrown off. But yeah, the one day off that we had, it was like a sign from the universe to just keep going.
It's like the universe gave us our like monthly paycheck. So you know how at like the end of the like working month or whatever, you get your pay packet. The universe goes, all right, well, you finished for the month. Here you go. Here's your pay, and it's all the feedback
and
from
we're
our
like,
fans.
oh, thank you, because like,
oh, it's working.
We obviously get so much feedback, but like it's so sporadic. Like sometimes we'll get like 5 messages on one episode, and then all of a sudden you like, and then the next few you don't, and then you'll get a heap again. So it's like sometimes you're like, oh, we're going down the right course. Like,
and that's the part. It gets really tough when you stop hearing from people because you're like, oh, we're doing something
like the
wrong.
views are going double. But then, like, like you're not going to get the same person messaging you day in, day out, saying, well done, everyone. And, like, I suppose that was another thing, too, is, like, I don't know if we've said a whole heap on this podcast, but me and Kirby started off with it solely focused around, like, just mental health. And like, it was just about, like, my OCD and me and Kirby's story. But then we wanted to transition it into mindset as well, but then also getting guests on that had inspiring stories that were relevant and that people could see value in. Because like, we love to just sit here and talk one-on-one, but we love to interview. But we also thought that someone like a Daniel Hayes that had 8 successful real estate agencies and was on Big Brother, and, you know, he's made a lot of money and done really well. And same with Jim. His company's bringing in $1 billion every year. Hearing their side of it as well, because we're getting everyday working people, and then we're also getting these successful people. And what I come to find is that the message is the same every time.
Yeah. But like, if we're not going and doing these big interviews, it doesn't give us content for stuff like this.
Yeah,
sit
exactly.
And talk about.
Exactly. And yeah, so it's kind of like we get best of both worlds, and we just like, we want people to listen to these guys and take value from it and take value from us as well. So yeah, it went, I don't know, probably like 6 weeks ago, it probably took a different avenue where it was like mental health and mindset. And we also want inspiring stories as well. Like, we want you guys to be able to listen and go, oh my God, like that guy or that girl went through that. I can get through what I'm going through at the moment as well. And it doesn't matter their story. And what we found is that a lot of the time when someone's become successful or done something massive, they have to go through adversity at some point mentally. So it all ties in together, which is awesome. So I'm glad that we can cover like all bases with one topic.
Absolutely. Here's one for you.
Go for it.
In the last, I don't know if I want to say month, 3 weeks, or 2 weeks. So I'm going to say in the last, as far as you can remember back, whatever, in the last month, what's been your biggest takeaway from an interview, from something someone's told you, from a lesson we've learnt because of a failure? What do you think is your biggest takeaway?
Take the leap and follow your dreams. Because everyone, like I just said to you, that's like, you know, either successful or these guys that, you know, like a Brody, like I'm not saying he's not successful or anything, but like he has taken the leap into the career that he wants to do.
Yeah.
And he is now, like, you watch his Instagram and he's living.
He's thriving.
His dream life. And it's like, what I've really taken out from speaking to every single one of these people is to take the leap and follow your dream and follow what you want to do. Because at the end of the day, if that fails, the life that we were living previous is so easy to get back. It's not even funny. So like,
we were saying that the other day when we were driving up to Brisbane, we saw real estate signboards, and like we were driving up Saturday, and look, to be honest, on the way there, it was Saturday morning. We were so burnt and tired. We were just trying to not really talk because we were waiting to focus all our energy into that interview, and we're driving and we're like, oh, we saw real estate signboards. We went, oh, yuck.
But like that's not going anywhere. Like, hold wood again and touch wood, but like, God forbid something goes wrong. I know I could walk into any agency and take my job back, or like get the same job that I had back, like
easily.
And that's what I've been learning is speaking to these people is like, I hate saying this quote, but it's been hitting me a lot lately. I'm not going to explain why I hate saying it, but like,
even I'm on edge to see what this one is.
No, but if you know, take take the risk or you'll lose the chance. Someone I know had that tattooed on them, and but like it's been popping. It's been popping in my head heaps lately. But it's like take the risk or you will lose the chance. And like I felt like the stars aligned so well that if we didn't take the risk, we wouldn't have been able to take the chance. And I feel like everyone in their life has a point where they can take that risk, and you might lose the chance. So just take it and let it figure itself out. But I do want to ask you the same question. Like,
well, the one that I always think of, it's Jim Carrey. And I'm going to try to say this quote as best as I can because I watch it all the time because it's absolutely phenomenal. He says, I learned a lot of lessons from my dad, but the best one was, you can fail at something you hate, so why not try something you love?
exactly. Like,
Had you seen that clip or that story?
is he doing like the graduation?
Yeah. And it was his dad was saying, and Jim Carrey said his dad could have been the best comedian he'd ever seen, but he was too fearful to take the leap and he wanted to stay at his secure, safe accounting job. He then lost the accounting job. And then that's what Jim Carrey said, like, you know, he failed at the job that he hated. So why not try and fail at the thing you love?
Well, I think like, and yeah, like I really like that.
That's the wood you can hear knocking.
But it was like another thing. Like when we were at the Luke Combs concert, Luke said something about following your dreams and taking that leap. But I was looking at him, Mitchell Tenpenny, Jordan Davis, and Lane Pittman. And I thought all of these guys to get to where they are right now, or any single person you look up to that's become successful, has taken a leap at some point in their life.
Yeah.
Like who is famous or successful or rich from a 9-to-5 that we look up to? Like realistically, think about it. Every single person you look up to has had to take a risk at some point, take the leap and go into the world of unknown and uncomfortable, like being uncomfortable. And that is something that I think about every single day is I think Luke Combs wouldn't have been on that stage in front of 80,000 people if he didn't take a risk or take a leap at some point.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps me going every single day. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just fucking do it.
Another thing that I saw was like someone said like, and I forget how young we are. Like it feels like we're so old, but it's 27. In 10 years, we'll be 37. That's not even, that's still like, I don't know, like 20, 30 years off retirement age.
That's still 30 years off. That's still longer than we've already lived.
Yeah. Like when we're 37, like in 10 years, it's still what? Another 30 years, we'll be 67.
That's longer than we've even been alive for now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like there's so much time left. And that's like, you know, Jim from Jim's Mowing. He goes like, his passion wasn't actually mowing lawns. It was his scientific research. So all the money he makes from that business, he puts into his research. So yes, Jim, in a way, took a leap, but he then went, you know what? I'm going to keep working this job to fund my passion. You know, so people out there, if you've got a passion for writing, if you want to be an author, you love writing, go write a fucking book while you work.
Yeah.
Sorry for the French there, but like, go write the book. Like,
well, Danny said it last week.
Yeah. If you
want to be a painter and you're a real estate agent, go paint.
Yeah.
And I know it's hard because financially it can be tough. You know, me and Kirby don't have kids. Kirby's got a property, but it's being rented at the moment, so like it's almost covering the mortgage. Like, it's not quite. It's not quite. It's
not quite.
And I know it's different circumstances for different people, but hopefully over the last few episodes you can kind of, I don't know, maybe think about ways that you could do it.
No, but that's what I'm saying. You don't have to leave your job to go be a writer. You can be a writer on the side.
But give that purpose or that thing you want to do time.
Yeah.
And think about how you can translate that into your everyday life.
Because it's as I said like a while ago where it was energy. There's two forms of energy. Energy can't be created or destroyed, but merely transferred. If you're giving all of your energy to work, I can tell you right now that your government job isn't going to be giving you energy back.
No way.
Like your 9-to-5, and I'm not ripping into like government workers, like we need you to run the country. But it's like, you know, if you're putting all of your energy into this one particular job, a 9-to-5 is not going to give you back what you put in. If you have a book that you want to write and you put 30% of your energy into that book will give you more fulfillment and more energy than anything. Can guarantee that.
And if you're really aligned and you're fulfilling your purpose and something you want to do, when you get home, it won't feel like a chore.
No. And if you love writing for fun, let's say, And another thing that I've been really squashing out of people lately is people go, the word "but if," and it's like, oh, I could do it, but what if it doesn't work? But what if it does work? Like, I want to write a book. Oh, but what if it's not popular? What if it's not successful? But what if it is popular and successful?
And that's what I've been trying to change my thing around that as well. Like, because it's a human response and emotion. Like going, but what if it doesn't work? But like, what if it does?
Yeah.
Like, what if it actually works?
No, it was one of the ones we didn't air. I talked about the observer effect.
Yeah, we'll go for it.
Yeah. We'll touch on the observer effect quickly. So, what the observer effect is, and I don't want to get too far into it because I don't want to quote it and it be wrong, but basically what it means is there's a certain kind of molecule or atom out here in the universe that when you're looking at it, it changes its shape. It sounds crazy, but go Google it. I promise it's like phenomenal. So it changes its state when people are looking at it. It's the whole concept of if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around to hear it, does it make a noise? And you can say, yes, it does. And it's
but how do you know?
Yes, it does, because trees make sounds when they fall. And it goes, but if no one's around to hear it, how do you know? And it's this whole spiral thing. Anyway, that's the observer effect. When you look, and this is going to sound pretty crazy and far-fetched, but keep with me because you'll get where I'm going. With the multiple realities laid out in front of you and the multiple ways that your life can pan out, there's Kirby that is a famous author. There's Kirby that there's a painter. There's Kirby that ends up in jail. There's Kirby who's got a successful podcast. There's Kirby who's a real estate agent and Kirby who's dead. The one that you are looking at, the path that you are looking at follows the observer effect. So let's say if I really wanted to be an author, I would take actions and I would look at that path to write a book. Suddenly, all of the other ones would disappear and would fade out, and all of my actions moving forward would be my life towards the book. Ryan was a great example of this. Ryan said that he was a fantastic soccer player and he was such a great player, and everyone was saying to him, you're on track to being a great soccer player, and he really wanted to be a soccer player. But then when he started focusing his life on other things, the soccer career drifted. It fell victim to the observer effect. It disappeared. Like when Liam first started real estate, he was, I'm going to be the best real estate agent ever. I'm going to be this. I'm going to be an attraction agent. Every action Liam took went down the path of Liam becoming a successful real estate agent. As the podcast started coming along, his vision started skewing and looking at the podcast. Then suddenly the real estate world fell to the observer effect and disappeared. And suddenly...
And it actually did.
Yeah. Because it's not just saying like, you know, oh, I stopped doing calling and I stopped doing the work, but the opportunities that were there dropped off and picked up in the podcasting. So suddenly you weren't getting people calling you anymore to sell. You weren't getting deals done. Things weren't happening, but they were happening in the podcast world. People were messaging us. People were coming at us because the universe saw the observer effect is in the podcast now, not real estate. Does it make sense?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I know how that works, but the way you explain it works makes sense. I don't, anyone driving thinking about that is probably
lost. Anyone listening to it driving has fallen to the observer effect.
But I suppose because it's happened to you and I, and in like right in front of us it happened, like the way that our jobs...
I'm certain that every single person listening to this was doing something that people told them they could be great at if they stuck with it, and they didn't, and they drifted off something else. And they always thought, what could my life have been if I stuck with that?
Well, like the second Kirby and I started getting real traction with this podcast and these big guests were coming, our work lives just went... we were putting in the same amount of work, but nothing was happening. And the way that they both concluded was so...
We were putting like 10 to 15% effort on the podcast.
Yeah.
But because real estate wasn't the prime focus anymore... It was the car, the vehicle to get us there. It stopped happening here.
I remember I was doing a private inspection and we booked Jim, and I was like, I can't even focus on this property at the moment. I was like, we're going to do Jim Benman in Melbourne.
Was there a buyer in the house and you forgot they were there?
So yeah, the buyer was upstairs for so long that I was messaging Jim, like his like social media guy, back and forth for so long. They actually started making a noise upstairs, and I was like, "Who's here?
Who's here?"
I was like, "Oh, that's right. I'm doing a private inspection." But like I said, like the way that it all concluded, like your job, your career, and then my career, I couldn't actually believe the way that it concluded. It was really, not that it was crazy or anything. It kind of just fizzled out, and like it was just a mutual handshake. And it was like, look, I'm actually, you know, I've only been working 10 years, but for the last 6 or 7 of them, every job I had, I was doing 6 days a week, and I was having 1 day to myself. And I was like, this is the time in my life where I just want to give 100% to what I want to do and myself. Like, I've never actually done this before.
Yeah.
Everything I've done is for everyone else and for a job. And it just kind of fizzled out, and it was a nice little handshake, and it just ended like that. And it was fine. And the way yours ended was just as simple and easy as well. Like, and it's because we were putting all of our energy and effort into this.
But a week or 2 or a month prior, it wouldn't have been easy.
No.
It would have been.
It would have been weird if we were to leave.
And tough. And it wouldn't have worked.
So yeah, it feels like everything's kind of falling into place for this job. I don't know. We could in 6 months and be like, oh, but I just don't believe it. Knock on wood again.
But yeah, as you said, we just don't believe it. The faith is too high. The messages from people saying that we're doing the right things.
Don't want to get too woo-woo as well, but some of the universal things that have happened and the places we've been at the right time and the things that have happened, it's just, I don't know.
But again, we're looking at the how much luckier could I get goggles.
Yep.
Where everything that's happening to us, whether it be a good or a bad thing, we're learning a lesson from and we're moving on and going, how can we do that better next time? Which we've done a lot now. There's been a lot of times where we've actually gone, oh, that wasn't right. But we've picked up, we've learnt from it, we've moved on. And the good things, we're going, this is fantastic.
Yeah, well, to conclude this episode, that's what we really want. Is we don't want you guys sitting here thinking we're complaining or, you know, anything. We really want you guys to, I suppose, know the stuff that we've been going through and we want you to know the way that we've been looking at things as well. And like what Kirby just said is to look at things under a different light and a different perspective, because every time I look back on anything in my entire life that's ever happened to me that was bad has happened for a reason.
Yeah. And like, to build on what Liam's saying, we're not sitting... Oh, excuse me. Ooh.
Sorry, everyone.
We're not sitting here telling you... We're not sitting here, we're not complaining, we're not saying that we're unthankful for everything, but we're giving you a very clear indicator that chasing your dream is so worth it.
Yep.
But it's not just going to be like, oh, I'm just going to do this now. It will test you. It will trial you. It will put you through the absolute rigor and spit you out the other side to make sure that you're cut out and worthy for this lifestyle.
And I think you've got to go through this to have gratitude for it on the other end. Like, that's why I think that nothing good comes easy, and it's such a cliche, cringy thing to say. But like, the more I look back on everything that I've ever had, like when my real estate career finally started kicking off, that was after 4 years of grinding, and I'd been through it. Like I've said previous, I had holes in my shoes, no rego, no fuel, no lunch. I'd been through it, and then I finally got out the other side of it. And I just feel like everything that is good doesn't come easy, so that you can have gratitude for it and respect it. And that's why Kirby and I try and make sure that at least once a week we both sit there and we go, look at everything that has just happened. Like, let's be grateful and excited. Yeah, there were some bad things, but if they didn't happen, this wouldn't have happened.
Yeah. And like, you said it before, but we started talking about something else. The thing that I've learned in the last month or whatever, that question that I asked you, and then you said, oh, yeah, I want to know your one, is that nothing good has ever come easy.
No.
Or like, you know, you look at the highly successful people that we've interviewed recently, not even like, you know, success is different to everyone. Everyone who we've interviewed is successful because they are not content, but they are happy with their life.
And they've all been through something and come out the other side.
Yeah, and so that's the thing that I've learned and I've picked up, is that nothing good in life ever comes easy.
No.
And it's like, but if you've got the adversity and you've got
persistent.
the push, if you've got the adversity, if you've got the persistence to push through, it will reward you in the other end.
100%.
It's just trials. Because the universe or God wants to filter out the people that are unworthy of this life. So if you show that you're worthy of it and you push, you'll be rewarded.
somebody said the other day too, like 99% of people don't actually try that hard of anything.
Yeah.
Like podcasting.
I believe that.
Like podcasting. Like I actually heard the other day, it was like 90% of people don't get to the first 3 episodes or 10 episodes or whatever.
Most
and
sit like this.
Yeah, some just...
Most sit like this.
Kirby's got his feet up, chilling.
How was your day, Liam?
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah,
but
good,
like,
bro.
and I've actually kind of looked on that, and I'll come across a podcast and I go, okay, like it doesn't look like it's, you know, you can look at the art and you can be like, all right, these guys don't put that much effort into it, and then you look at it and it's like they've done 7 podcasts and they stopped recording in August last year and they haven't picked it up again.
Yeah.
So it's like, and that's in like almost everything. Like I can tell you right now in real estate, if you put in 50% effort, you will be better than 99% of everyone.
Yeah.
And like that is in most jobs and most things that you do is if
Yep.
you actually put in the effort and you give it 100%, you will be doing a lot more
consistently.
than... Yeah, consistent. You will do a
Can't
lot
do 100%
better.
for a week.
But you'll do a lot better than 99% of the people trying. And it just being consistent, persistent, and just being interested in it and keep on going because you will get there. And it's everything. It's every industry I've ever worked in, every industry I've learnt about.
Even the gym, like even gym, working out, fitness.
Yeah.
It's like most people don't do it. That's why, like, you know, when, you know, you're like, oh, you know, not that you've ever been like, ooh, but it's like you go, oh, I can only bench 90 kilos. And it's like at benching 90 kilos, you're probably stronger than 25% of the population.
Fuck, I think it'd be more than that.
No, sorry. In the top 20, I reckon
Yeah.
you're in the top 25% strength-wise in the
makes more
population. Because if you think old people, children, people that don't gym and train, you know,
You know
in
what
the
I just
top
thought?
25%.
What I just thought is for anyone that's made it this far, I'm just joking. But anyone that's listening right now, what I want you guys to do, this is just off the cuff and I've just thought about it, is sit down right now, if you're driving, wait, think about 3 things that have happened to you this week that you're grateful for, and also think about...
I've already told him to do this at the start. But
but
we'll retouch on it.
retouching because we've said so much since. But then also really sit with yourself and have that conversation for 20 minutes to half an hour one night this week or whenever you're listening to this podcast and go, what is me following my purpose actually look like? And try and connect some dots on how you can get there. Send us a message if you've done it or comment, or you don't even have to do that, but just try that for yourself. And I think if you do that, I know if you do that, and you figure out what your purpose is or you figure out what your ideal life is and you can figure out a roadmap to getting there, send us a message. We'll try and help you. Like we don't know everything, but we're happy to try and help.
I can tell like the meditation point of view. How to get there.
But then also we can try and come up with ideas for you because people are messaging us all the time. And we can try and help you get a clear vision on following that purpose, and that might make you wake up every day with a whole new perspective on life and a whole new gratitude, and you might just get out of bed with a bit more of a pep in your step. So 3 things you're grateful for today, and try and figure out how you can align with your purpose and what that looks like.
Yeah.
I think that'd be awesome.
Help people find their ikigaya. Do you remember what ikigaya is?
Or was that Gay that said that?
No.
Yes, it was.
I know she did mention it.
Yeah.
But we've had a few people that have mentioned it now. It's how the Japanese find their purpose. It's what you're good at, what the world needs, how can you make money from it, what makes you happy. I think that's the 4. Something along those lines. And it's
But that'd be exactly like
ikigaya.
exactly what it is. Because like podcasting, we knew when we figured it out, but I was always, what we're doing right now is exactly what I've always wanted to do my entire life, but I actually never knew.
Yeah.
But then we accidentally stumbled upon it, sort of, knowing we wanted to do it.
Oh, me too.
But then started it. But then once we actually did it, I went, this is what it is. This is it.
Yeah, because I was in musicals, I got nominated at school as most likely to have a talk show. You know, I'm helping people, I'm entertaining people. It's what I've always wanted to do, but just didn't know it until it started. So
I just love knowing how much people we're helping, man.
it's the best.
Like, and I'm sure you definitely do as well. It's just like getting these messages from people you don't know. There's something about it. Just knowing that you've helped just made their day a little bit better.
Bit of crack when you get it. Like, give me another.
Give me more.
Give me another.
Then you need more and more and more. Anyway, let's not talk about a crack addiction. We appreciate you guys for listening. We love yous. And our next one probably won't be for another, I'd say, 3 to 4 weeks.
Like and comment, please, because commenting actually
Bumps
really
the algorithm.
helps our algorithm.
And rating like our entire podcast. That's cool
yeah,
too.
rate, comment, subscribe, love.
Any button
all
you
that.
can press, just press it. Love yous.